We're going to talk about oneness. So welcome again this morning to our Sunday service. Welcome to all of you online and on Zoom and here in the sanctuary. It is really a blessing to be in community with all of you, and I'm really excited to share our message today. And just to borrow a phrase from my colleague, Reverend Charlene at Temecula Valley CSL, we're not just going to talk about waking up, but we're going to talk about staying awake. All right? So I invite you all to be thinking about that a little bit. And one of the themes this month is this idea of peace, and how in some ways we live in a world that is defined by a different kind of peace. So peace, we know, P-E-A-C-E, right? That sense of calm, of everything is all right. And then there's peace in the sense of brokenness, right? P-I-E-C-E, right? And what I really love about this image, which is a beautiful mosaic, stained glass mosaic, is that it embodies the idea of all of those perfect little pieces that together form something amazing and beautiful, just as we are individual humans, right? But we are together in the divine. We are together a beautiful thing. And we are not broken, so let's be clear about that, but we don't look like we're all part of one thing, right? Because we all look so different, don't we? We look different in our ages, our genders, our cultural backgrounds, our occupations, our beliefs and our values. And yet fundamentally, there is a oneness which we can deny if we want to, but never leaves us, right? And part of our spiritual journey, we propose in religious science, is that throughout our lifetime, it is our project, if we choose to accept it, right? That famous line from the TV show Mission Impossible, your mission, Jim, if you choose to accept it, is to, and our mission is to know who we really are. That we are one with God, that we are part of this infinite divine expression, and that each of our uniqueness contributes something wonderful and amazing to that. So, are you at peace with everyone you meet? What would you say? Sometimes? Occasionally? Yeah. Sure, me too. Not many people are, right? When we are in the busyness of life, right? We're really focused on all the things we have to do, right? All the things we have to do for our families, our personal lives, our work, whatever it might be. And sometimes it kind of feels like people get in the way, don't they? Why aren't they paying attention? Why don't they know what I need to do right now? And that, oh gosh, those feelings that they're having, or those questions that they're asking, or those needs that they have are kind of getting in the way of what I need to do. And we're really seeing our otherness in that moment, aren't we? We're seeing what our agenda is, and maybe we're recognizing their agenda is different, but we're not feeling, or we're not knowing what that is. So when everything feels like it's falling into pieces, or is sort of all broken up sort of in life, as often it does in our humanness, how can we find more peace, right? And when we're confused and asleep, as Jody mentioned that phrase, sort of this illusion of separation, right? When we're in that state of illusion, how do we awaken? What kinds of ideas and tools can help us wake up to the truth that, as Dr. Ernest Holmes said, peace is always at the center of our own soul, right? Peace isn't somewhere outside. It isn't somewhere you have to travel to. Peace is actually already here with us, because it is a fundamental aspect of that divine that is already within our bodies, within our minds, within our entire being at every level. So we're going to talk a little bit about some spiritual tools in our toolkit about how to cultivate inner peace this month, peace with others, peace in community, and peace on earth. And put all of those different kinds of peace together in order that we can really be fully ourselves, fully present, and be part of creating a greater experience and sense of peace in the world. So sometimes when we're in that mode of otherness, right, we have a sense of fear or uncertainty, right? We feel kind of all alone. Everybody else is out there, and they may not be against us, but they're not necessarily for us either, right? They're not helping. And when we choose to start waking up, one way we can do that is to really start thinking about this idea of namaste. And some of you may have heard that word, right? It's a word that means basically the idea of the divine in me recognizes and honors the divine in you. Now, I'd love to say that as a minister I walk around with that idea all the time, but that wouldn't be honest, right? I need to pause and remind myself to do that when I'm in the midst of my experience of otherness. And we're going to talk about this idea so that when we move into this concept of namaste, we move into a place that's really motivated by love, compassion, and curiosity. And that creates a space for us to be a different way, right? With ourselves and with other people. So Ernest Holmes, let's see, can I make this advance? Hello? Am I not? Well? Oh, well, in the past I have pointed it there, but good to know. Thank you. So, Ernest Holmes has expressed in this one of our foundational principles as part of our Declaration of Principles. We believe in the individualization of the Spirit in us, and that all people are individualizations of the one Spirit. And some of you may notice I used this principle 2 weeks ago. And that's the great thing about our spiritual principles, is that they apply to so many different aspects of life. So we talked about wholeness the last time I talked about this, and today we're talking about oneness. So we are all one because we are each individualizations of this one. And when we really tune into that truth, that we are spirit made manifest, we really can move into that sense, that sort of cognitive, spiritual, physical experience of oneness. And we can move beyond that sense of other and move into oneness. And that really is the place of peace, that peace that can surpass all understanding. We can look into the eyes of each other and see God in everyone. So Ernest Holmes tells us, you and I know that no matter how confused we are, if we get by ourselves long enough and think peace, we will become peaceful. Peace is the divine reality at the heart of God. So as we've been talking about, in this kind of unconscious dream world that we often are living in, we have this sense of separation and otherness. And often that leads to a kind of sense of uncertainty, fearfulness, that keeps us separated, right? So we have this idea that we're other, and then we have feelings that sort of compound that. When we wake up from this unconscious sleep of separation, we can have a new experience. So I want to invite you to do a little experiment, and I want to invite the folks on Zoom to do this too. So if you want to turn on your camera for a moment and do this. So I invite you right now to just look around the room and notice all the different people who are here. Just look around and notice, and you can do that on Zoom too if you would like. Yeah. Now I invite you to close your eyes and go within. Consciously move your attention and energy to your heart space. Breathe into your heart. Feel that divine within. Feel a sense of oneness with all beings. Feel safe. Feel at peace. Now open your eyes and slowly look around the room again, only this time from your heart center. Look in each other's eyes and feel that sense of namaste. The divine in me recognizes and honors the divine in you. Feel the shift to oneness in the room. Notice how you feel the second time around. Notice the sense of peace. So what we just did was a kind of divine pause, right? We took the time to go into our hearts and pause. And in that space, we saw each other in new ways. So Viktor Frankl, who some of you, whose work some of you may know, was a, well-known psychologist or psychiatrist who created a school of therapy called logotherapy. And he was a Holocaust survivor. And he wrote in a wonderful book called Man's Search for Meaning about some of the things that had helped him survive this terrible experience. And one thing he said was that between the stimulus and response, there is a space. And in that space lies our freedom and our power to choose our responses. In our responses lies our growth and our freedom. In the space. In that space that is a pause. All right? And one of the really fascinating things about our humanness, I think, is that in that space, in sometimes just a nanosecond, right, we tell ourselves an entire story about what is happening in our interactions with the world, with other people, and with the world. And those stories are very powerful for us. And those stories are often based on something that's actually happening, based on what we might call the truth, but it's not always the whole truth, is it? We don't always know what is happening in someone else's experience and mind. I'm going to share a brief story from my own life. I grew up with a mother who was a very devoted parent, and she was constantly working on helping me by trying to suppress all of the things she thought about me would make my life more difficult. You're too sensitive. You need to be this, right? You're too, that there was lots of, you're too this way, and you need to be another way. And I really struggled with this. I found this very difficult because I felt like I was never enough, right? Sort of the too much of the wrong thing, not enough of the right thing, and that no matter how hard I tried, I could not sort of fulfill this. And this was something that I struggled with in my life and really put us in opposition all the time. And I was very frustrated by this. I was angry about it, quite honestly. And this was an aspect of our relationship for many, many years. And I knew that she loved me, but I felt very unseen and unrecognized as myself. And, over the years, as I evolved as a person, I came to be able to understand that the way that I was its own gift, whether or not other people could see that. Right? That was part of my journey as an individual and ultimately part of my spiritual journey. But it remained a sort of point of conflict in my relationship with my mom, who died about 5 years ago. And one day, not long before she did die, we were talking, and I asked her a question. I had come to understand over the years that her motivation, right, was to really try to protect me, that really some of those things that she told me I was too much like were because they were like her. And she had found them painful, right? So she wanted to protect me in my life by not having to suffer the way that she had in her life, by being different. But I asked her, well, did it ever occur to you, or why didn't you see if there was a way you could help me navigate the way that I was, right? I could be myself, but there were other tools or ways of being that might help me do that. And she looked at me with the most astonished expression, and she said, that never occurred to me. And in that moment, what I recognized was I had had a story, right, in my head about why she did what she did. A story that was painful for me. And in hearing her response, I realized that that story was, not really fully what was happening. And it made me realize how much of these stories that we tell ourselves often separate us more. Because we never had the actual conversation. And I'm just acknowledging that this is often how our lives operate. We don't really sit down and excavate those kinds of feelings and ideas to better understand. We tell ourselves a story because that is part of our humanness. We rely on our stories to help us cope with everything that happens. And sometimes those stories are really beneficial and really helpful, and sometimes those stories are not so beneficial and helpful and keep us stuck in that condition of otherness. So I share that simply to invite you to think about the stories that you're telling yourselves about your relationships and your interactions with other people, and to consider the possibility that in the pause, there might be a different story or another piece of the story that could help you have a greater perspective, both of yourself and of other people. All right? So when we practice that pause, slow down, breathe into our hearts, we can explore that story. And we can explore the ideas of what is true or what is not true. So the next step, right? So we've talked about this idea of pausing, of reconsidering, of really looking at other people in this idea of oneness and wholeness. So the next thing is that we can choose to consciously choose our peace. You may have heard that definition, that insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result. Has anybody ever done that? I certainly have, yeah. So our opportunity is to notice these old habit patterns, we've repeated many, many times, and make new choices to change what we are doing and to choose being in that place of being able to connect with that oneness and peace. We can ask ourselves, what is the outcome that we want? Is it an argument and being right? Boy, being right often feels so seductive, doesn't it? Yeah. Something about our humanness and our egos that really enjoys being right. Or do we want to come together? Brene Brown has a phrase that she invites folks to use in her book, Rising Strong, whenever we're feeling triggered. And the phrase is, the story I am telling myself is. And when you use a phrase like that, right, it gives you the opportunity to think about, okay, this is a story. Might be a good story, a bad story, but it's a story. And now we have an opportunity to think about maybe validating that story, right? Or maybe seeking another perspective from the other person that we're with. Okay, I think I might have missed my other slide, but or not. All right, we're going to try there. Okay, guys. All right. Whoops, we went too far. All right. So we're going to do all right, there we go. All right. So today we're going to do another brief practice. So I want to invite you, and this is a Buddhist loving kindness prayer. So I want to invite you to, again, return to that heart space. And So we're going to start with ourselves, and we're going to, please repeat after me. May I be happy. May I be well. May I be safe. May I be peaceful and at ease. Now, you're going to send a version of this prayer to some people, and I will tell you. So we're going to start with someone that you love. All right? And again, repeat after me. May you be happy. May you be well. May you be safe. May you be peaceful and at ease. Now we're going to send that prayer to someone you feel neutral about. May you be happy. May you be well. May you be safe. May you be peaceful and at ease. Okay, now to someone with whom you are having a challenge. All right, bring them into your heart space. May you be happy. May you be well. May you be safe. May you be peaceful and at ease. And we're going to conclude with sending this out to the whole world today. May everyone be happy. May everyone be well. May everyone be safe. May everyone be peaceful and at ease. At the deepest level, says Deepak Chopra, there is infinite peace, undisturbed by the play of opposites and the clash of darkness versus light. From the soul's perspective, there is only pure being. When we choose to pause and say a prayer like this, we are bringing our souls back to that place of pure being. Truly a blessing that we can give ourselves and each other. So when we intentionally wake up from this illusion of separation, we are, in our catchphrase for this year, having a grand rising into oneness. So let's put all of these different tools and pieces together to experience peace together. Let's learn to live from this place of namaste, of seeing God in everyone we meet. Let's learn to practice the pause for peace, to compassionately ask ourselves about the story that we're telling ourselves. And then let's consciously choose what we do want, to take our power back and choose peace. When we do these things and consciously choose our peace, we're making the world as a whole more peaceful. So to circle back to Reverend Charlene's invitation, not only to wake up, but to stay awake. How do we stay awake? Because it's really easy to do an exercise like this and walk out the door and kind of go back to our habitual ways of being, isn't it? That's just our humanness. And I would argue that part of the way that we do this is by staying in community, right? It's when we spend time with people who are also doing that same thing that it helps us to remember. So whether you stay in community here at Om CSL or at another center or with other like-minded people, I invite you to make a commitment to yourself to be with people who are making a similar kind of choice, because that is part of the way that we grow ourselves and that we support each other's collective growth. So make it a practice to gather together with people, Take a moment daily to do that exercise that we shared at the very beginning of the talk this morning, to go into your heart space and then to look at other people from that heart space, right? Rather than from the busyness of life. Feel that peace within and look at them from that space. And when you do, it will remind you of your peace and the truth about yourself and them.